And we spoke with Reid Laughlin, an associate professor of Christianity and culture at the University of Toronto St. Michael's College, about the global attention around the election of a new pope. Okay, we'll try to get that clip with you later, but obviously a lot of people reacting to this. The Vatican says the Pope's first Sunday noon blessing is expected to go ahead as planned at the St. Peter's Basilica.
Let's bring in Mariela Torroba Hennigen, who joins us live this morning. Mariela, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. It's such a huge moment for Catholics around the world. I mean, everybody was watching the Vatican as this announcement was made. Let's start by getting your reaction. This announcement, Pope Leo, someone who was born in Chicago and spent some 20 years in Peru.
It was definitely a huge surprise. I remember I was at work when I was watching the live broadcast, and but it was such a joyful moment as well for, as you said, Catholics around the world, but especially someone like myself coming from South America. It was delightful to see a new pontiff be elected that has experience in that part of the world.
Yeah, and Mariela, you're obviously very active in the Catholic community. You represent UTM Catholics, and you were a graduate student at TMU and a member of Toronto Metropolitan Catholics. Maybe for people who don't understand what this moment means for young people, and maybe you can speak about the significance the papacy has in our world today. For people who may not be Catholic or religious, why is this still important for young people?
Well, for young people, I would say, like my generation, this is the first time we remember a conclave happening. I remember when I was 11, Pope Francis was elected. And of course, I vaguely remember seeing the white smoke. And at the time I lived in South America, so he visited. So I remember I have those memories. But for young people, especially here in Canada, I think this is the first time a lot of us are actually intentionally accompanying this moment. And so for young people, having a new pope be elected, it's a new reference for us. It's someone who becomes this person who we can come to when we seek wisdom, when we seek counsel, and we have some sort of guidance to live our life. So I think for us, and maybe some that are not as religious, who don't know what this means having a new leader, having a new Holy Father, a spiritual guide here for us on earth.
And what's also kind of interesting with this is when the announcement was made yesterday, it seemed like a lot of people were kind of going to their phones or their computers and doing a background search, essentially, trying to get a sense of who Pope Leo is and you know, the direction he might take the church. For young Catholics, what do you think people would like to see from this new pontiff?
Of course, I can't really speak on behalf of all Catholics, but I do sense a lot of hope from this new pope. And that's not no rhyme intended, but I do think that for a lot of us, it's a new moment of opportunity. There was a lot of speculation about whether the new pope would continue Pope Francis's legacy or sense a new direction. And I think we have to just give Pope Leo his time and trust that he was elected in a spirit-led conclave and that he will bring good and continue to counsel us here in his church.
Yeah, and Mariela, maybe you can speak to this, and I'm not going to put you on the spot, but I'm just curious to know, he was born Robert Prevost, and he chose the name Leo XIV. I'm just curious about the name selection and the tradition of why, when you become a pope, you do get to choose, essentially, a new name for yourself.
As far as I know, that comes from a tradition where, for the longest time, the names that people were born with or baptized with, they were then allowed to select a new name to kind of, I guess, signify this transition or kind of like a new chapter in their life. And I know for Pope Leo, it kind of continues because it's Pope Leo XIV. Kind of emphasizing his care for the poor and for the migrants. So it's a time of a lot of challenge. And I think this decision comes to mirror and address those challenges.
Okay, yeah, that definitely makes sense and kind of falls in line with already his criticism of what's happening in the United States and the immigration policies there. All right, Mariela Torroba Hennigen, thank you so much for your time this morning. Appreciate it.